Here, we'll work on using the various tools in Illustrator to color or paint our artwork. I have the file open here, and with my selection tool, I'm going to click in the red guitar shape to select it. And then I'll open up my Properties panel, and I'll click the Fill box to bring up the Color Swatches panel. And notice that I am in the Swatches part of this panel. And as I hover my cursor over the various swatches, it gives me the name or the CMYK values that make up that color. So I'm going to pick the swatch that's called orange and just fill that shape with it. Now we can also create custom colors in addition to the standard colors in our swatches panel. I'm going to, with the selection tool, click the gray guitar shape. And then I'll open up the Properties panel. And this time I want to go to the Color Mixer part of the Swatches panel. And that's where we can it's like mixing paint. And we can see the CMYK values. Also, there's a color spectrum bar at the bottom. I'm going to hover my cursor in there and just click in an area that is kind of an orange-yellow color. It doesn't really matter what color it is because we're going to create a custom color. And you can see when I click in the color spectrum, the CMYK values change. And so now we're going to change the CMYK values to some specific numbers. So I'm going to give a value of 3 for the cyan, 2 for magenta, 98 for the yellow value, and 0 for the K color. And you can see how it's changing the color. So I'll deselect that. And now I want to select the black circle on the guitar. And I'll click the Fill button. And in the Color Mixer, I'm going to change the CMYK values to C of 0, M of 84, Y 100, and K 0. So you can see how that changed that black circle to orange. I want to click the Swatches button here, and down at the bottom of the panel, I'm going to click the New Swatch button. And that brings up a dialog box. I'll move that out of the way so I can see it. I'm going to change the swatch name to dark orange. I want to make sure the Add to My Library is not checked. And then also notice that the global box is checked. And that's what happens by default when we create a new color swatch. It's important to use global swatches, as we'll see shortly. It makes life a lot easier when changing colors. And I'll just click OK, and now you can see that the dark orange swatch has been added to the Swatches panel. Now we'll make a copy of the swatch we just created and then work on creating a custom color from that copy. So I want to leave that orange circle still selected. And we can see that we have various options in our swatches panel for what we can do. I want to go to the swatches panel menu, which is the icon in the upper right hand corner of the swatches panel. I'll click that, and I want to choose duplicate swatch. And when I do that, we can see that a dark orange copy has been added to the swatches panel. Now I want to click the original dark orange swatch to make sure that the circle is filled with that color. And now with my selection tool, I'm going to click the light blue guitar shape to select it. And then I'll click the fill box in the properties panel. And I'll click the dark orange copy swatch to apply it to that selection. And then we'll make some custom colors here. I'm going to change the name of this color to mustard. And then I'll change the CMYK values to C of 11, M of 23, Y of 100, and K of 0. I'll click preview, and there we can see that that mustard color has been applied to that portion of the artwork. And I'll just click OK. And we can also see that that mustard color has been added to the swatches panel. Now we'll work on editing a global swatch. And global swatches are very important to use in your artwork because we can easily change the color anywhere it's used in the artwork. So I'm going to select that gray shape on the guitar, and I'll click the fill box in the properties panel, and I'll apply the swatch that we named dark orange. Now I'll double click the dark orange swatch to bring up the swatch options dialog box, and I'll change the M value to 64, and I'll click the preview button to see the changes that we've made. And notice how it changed both the rectangular shape and the circle, because those are both global colors, the same global color. So even though the circle wasn't selected, the color changed because we changed the global swatch. That's the nice thing about global swatches, is that we can change various places in which that color is used all at once. We don't necessarily have to select every instance where that color has been used to change the color. We can edit some non-global colors as well. I'm going to select a shape on the guitar. We can see that the dark orange color is applied to it. I'm going to go up to Window and down to Swatches. That's another way to access the Swatches panel. I'm going to double click that orange swatch to bring up the Swatch Options dialog box. And I'll change the name to Guitar Orange. And I'll change the CMYK values to C of 0, M 29, Y 100, and K 0. And then I'll select Global to make sure it's a global swatch. I'll click OK. And I'll select that first guitar shape and apply that color to it, the guitar orange color. We can also use the color picker to create color. And the color picker lets us select color in a color field or in a spectrum. So I'm with the selection tool, I'm going to click in the blue guitar shape. Actually, I'll just double click the fill button there. You can see how the color picker works. We've got kind of a color spectrum here on one side, where you can choose color. You can just move the circle around and choose a color, click in there. And then the slider area determines the hue and value of a color. So if I move that slider up and down, it changes the value of the color from dark to light. We can switch back to the swatches panel if we want to. I'll just go back to the color picker again. I'll select that blue shape, double click the fill box to bring up the color picker. And I'll just click and drag that circle around there in the spectrum. You can see how you can choose colors this way. And you can see how the values for the various types of color modes are changing. We've got RGB, CMYK, and hue, saturation, and brightness. So I'm going to select a kind of an orange color. But I'm also going to change the color values, the CMYK color values, to get an exact color. I'll change C value to 8, M value to 50, the Y value to 100, and K to 0. I'll click OK. And there that orange color is applied to that previously blue shape. Now in the swatches panel, I want to click the new swatch button, save that swatch that I just created. I'll name it Burnt Orange. I want to make sure that Global box is checked and that Add to My Library is deselected. And then I'll click OK. And there the swatch has been added to the swatches panel. So there's a nice introduction to the various methods that we can color our objects.